We are living in a historic time for so many reasons. A presidential election unlike none other during a global pandemic that isn't slowing down. Teenagers may be young and resilient, but it doesn't mean they're immune to what's happening around them. We're launching our 2021 Eastside Media Arts podcast series, asking students to weigh in on these turbulent times and to share what it's like being a teenager during a pandemic. You're listening to the Phoenix Power Podcast. We are gathered here with our AM students from Eastside Technical Center's Media Arts class, and we're going to get started with the election. What a crazy year it's been. It's been nearly 48 hours since the returns started coming in, and we still do not know who our next president of the United States will be. Will Donald Trump earn and be elected to a second term, or will former Vice President Joe Biden become our next president? So with that, have you all been watching? Have you been paying attention?
Yes, I have. With another source that I have, it says that Joe Biden has 264 and Trump has 214. I'm just on the edge of my seat waiting, like, what's going to happen, because it's taking forever for this all to be over. And the country depends on it. It really is going to be a completely different situation for both candidates.
So when you say that, first of all, let's clarify, because I think the numbers is an interesting thing. So that difference, and I noticed that too, the difference in numbers. Certain media outlets have already projected that Biden has won Arizona because they feel like he's up enough that he's going to get it. So they've already given him that number. Others outlets are being more conservative, like with the old saying, it ain't over till it's over. And they've held back on that, which you all were probably too young to remember this when the election with Bush and Gore, and that went on, I feel like, I want to say weeks, months, maybe even till that was finalized, because we had a lot of problems with it was called the Hanging Chads out of Florida with their voting system. But many called it. There were even newspapers that posted the headline, and then they're like, whoa, whoops, sorry, take that back, because that election was not finalized forever. So that's where that discrepancy comes up. I think a lot of people have learned, let's err on the side of caution and not project something too soon. But with that clarification, Amaya, what about it? I think you brought up a great point. Regardless of which candidate wins, it's going to steer us in different directions. Even if we stay with who we have, it might keep going in different directions, and then with Biden, a different direction. So tell me why you say you're on the edge of your seat, wondering which direction it could go.
Because not only is it affecting the country, but it's really affecting people locally, because with citizens who have strong feelings for each, I mean, there's already been gunshots going on because of Trump losing, I guess. So it could be very violent, and I'm kind of worried about what's going to happen if Trump wins or what's going to happen if Biden wins, because people are very strong, have very strong opinions about Trump and Biden, and it's getting a little out of hand with the guns, and it just, I just don't like it. I just am ready for it to be over so we can all just move on.
Anyone else feel like you're ready for it to be over?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear a couple. Yeah, I heard some unanimous yeahs. Ethan, go ahead. What's your yeah? And then Tyrone, we're going to hear from you. Go ahead, Ethan.
Well, so I feel like no matter what right now, no matter which one we get, it's not going to be the best option that we could have had. I don't know. I feel like no matter what, either way it goes, one half of America isn't going to be pleased. Like, no, and that's with any situation, though, with politics right now, is no one's going to be pleased either way it goes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to think about.
Well, and I think too, Ethan, first of all, that's a life lesson. Like, you're never going to make everyone happy, right? But part of it is our process, and we need to respect the process, which gets into Maya talking about worrying about people revolting, or whatever word you want to use, if their guy doesn't win. Ethan, you also mentioned that on Divided, and what's been fascinating to me is because I think you said half and half. It literally is. If you're looking at these numbers, it is neck and neck. So it literally is half and half. Like half want this guy, half want that guy. Talk about divided down the middle. We really are. Tyrone, what were you going to say when you kind of said, yeah, I see that?
I was gonna say that it's crazy that with Biden having 264 like electrical votes, and then with Trump having 214 votes, that he wanted to revoke the votes and stuff, and then make people like stop the voting and stuff. And I thought it was just crazy.
Yeah, he wanted to stop the counting. I think I had heard some of that too. Yeah. That's been interesting, hasn't it?
Yeah, because I heard on Twitter he already quoted before it's not even like done yet. He said he already quoted that he already won, and and he was saying that he was like, I guess, close to losing the votes, so he just wanted to revote the voting and stuff.
So what do you all think about that? Because we've been hearing all kinds of stuff. What do you all think about what this election cycle is doing to the process? I mean, we have a process in America. Some people think it works with the Electoral College. Some people think we need to revisit that. But regardless of your opinions on that, we do have a process in America. What do you all think about this discussion in the middle of an election? Like, let's change things up and do it differently.
It's irritating, but clearly I'm not surprised from him. I hate people that do that in everyday life. Like, if they're losing, they want to change the rules, or they have a new way to go about it, a new way to count. And it saddens me that is one of the options of someone to run our country. Like, when you're losing, you need to recount the votes. No, you just need to accept that you're losing, grow up, and move on. There's no recounting. No one's trying to fraud you. No one's trying to say that you shouldn't win. We're literally counting the votes, and you're losing.
I think you brought up a great point. We're watching in real time life lessons. And Maya, I love that you pointed out that this isn't unique to this situation. People do it every day. Like, if it's not going, let's can we change the rules a little bit, or can we tweak it here? And I think, right or wrong, I think it's human nature. You want a little edge, right? But that's why we have a process, and we have rules, and even playing a board game, there are rules of how you play, right? To level the playing field. None of you all were able to vote, right? This round, none of y'all were 18 yet. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I think we asked that the other day. So that said, sounds like y'all are paying attention. You're watching. What issues as a teenager are important to you, or that you observe affect the loved ones in your life?
Say it.
So what issues to you affect you? You couldn't vote, but as an American, what issues though impact you? And if not you, what do you observe are issues that impact the people in your life, your parents, your grandparents?
Um, I say that the money, like, we ain't getting like for some of our money, we ain't getting paid like we supposed to and stuff like that. And it's hard getting money through through the account with all this stuff going on and stuff like that.
Tyrone,
say.
that's, you hit on probably the number one. I feel like that in healthcare, I feel like you've hit on one of the biggest points that Americans deal with is finances, jobs, income. And if you don't have the income or level of income that you need for your basics, that trickles down. You know, you could be an elementary school child. You might not understand why things are the way they are, but that trickle down of, you know, mom or dad has lost a job and the income's not coming in, that affects the little one, right? They might not understand what's going on, but it affects them, and they know something, you know, that, you know, struggling or something. Absolutely outstanding point. Anyone else? Any other issues that concern you or that you know election-wise impact your family?
I want to add on to what Tyrone said. I am worried about this, concerned about this for my grandmother. She struggles because she's retired. Sometimes her social security check is not enough. And then there's programs that try to help older people like get jobs and stuff, but it's still not enough for her. So she struggles trying to balance all of that with her social security check. And of course, the old-fashioned civil rights situation that also affects me greatly. And what president is going to actually do something about it?
That, I feel like that's a whole other show. We could go into that. What, Amaya, if you were president, what would you do about it? And I just put you on the spot, I know.
That's a good question. What would I do about the civil rights?
And anyone else? And you know what? I think the fact that I just threw that out and you go, that's tough. I think it's one of those things we all know. Something's broken. But when you sit there and say, well, what's your solution? I don't think there are any super easy solutions. I've been reflecting a lot myself from the you know, over the summer, from the vantage point of my lenses that I look out of, and I'm like, okay, what can I do? What can I do as an individual to make it better? But that's a big one. Susie, you bring a unique perspective in the sense that you weren't born here, but you have come to America. So what issues in America that you pay attention to or that might concern you?
About the election.
Yeah.
I think since Tuesday, the number is still the same.
Yeah.
And my mind was like, are they done voting, or are the calculation of how many people vote are confusing them, or what?
Yeah.
And then some of my friends were saying that if Trump win, it's gonna be bad. And I was like, don't say that. If it doesn't matter if anyone wins, I think they're gonna be a great president and they're gonna make America great again.
Susie, I love your optimism. I love that you had someone tell you, oh, if, you know, Trump wins, it's going to be bad. And you choose to say, you know what, whoever wins, it's going to be good. I saw someone on social media last night that said it so eloquently. And he said, at the end of the day, he goes, I care about the people in my local community. I care about the local restaurant owner who I'm going to go eat and support their restaurant. I care about my local police and my local firefighters who are here to protect me and my city. And he just said it really well, that keeping that optimism, that, yeah, if your candidate of choice doesn't win, let's focus on the positive of where it is good still. So I
Yeah.
love that optimism, Susie. And I love that you responded to your friends that way of, because maybe that sharing that optimism will help someone else be optimistic, because the people who are really upset and sad and depressed about this, if you just feed that you're going to get into a cycle. So I think it's wonderful to look for the positive light in that. I love that. Anyone else? When do you all, before we wrap up this segment, when do you all, I want your projections. When do you all think we're going to have a decision?
I think I say Friday, at least, or Saturday, but I hope by Friday or early or later on tonight. So.
Okay, good. Anyone else? Projections?
I would say by the end of today or maybe Friday morning, hopefully.
Anyone else
I
gonna
would,
go ahead? Go ahead.
I think at the latest, probably Sunday at the latest, because right now it's so weird and counting and all that. And then on top of that, we have the president claiming that there's a whole bunch of ballots being thrown in the river still. It's gonna be a mess for a while
Yeah,
on getting
I
the
agree.
votes completely counted.
I agree with you all. I think I'm hoping tonight, but I think more likely tomorrow. But I think it is possible we could drag into Saturday, but I think by this weekend. I'm just being optimistic that tonight or tomorrow. What to piggyback on what Ethan said, though, I do believe. I mean, we're going to know, but then it'll be challenged, and there are going to be some recounts, and so I think in that sense it will drag out a bit. But I think we're all just waiting for a collective sigh of, okay, it's over. So we can turn our attention to other things, which we, when we come back from this short break, are going to turn our attention to being a teenager living during this pandemic.
Get more out of your high school education with courses from Eastside Technical Center. Eastside prepares students for high-demand careers with programs like automotive and diesel technology, firefighting, game development, law enforcement, media arts. New for 2020, Eastside is proud to introduce aviation. Eastside is available to Fayette and surrounding counties. Get career and college ready. Apply today.
All right, welcome back. For our second segment, we are turning our attention to COVID and this global pandemic, but more specifically, Kentucky and how it's impacting our teenagers. Right now, just for a number check, in Kentucky, we are at 115,000 total cases since this started, with sadly 1,593 deaths. And with that, our numbers have been spiking, and our governor said with 68 red zone, that's the highest zone, which Fayette County is among the red zones, that he had suggested this week, his recommendation, not mandatory, was to go back to some of those stiffer things where he encouraged everyone to work from home if possible, to only do essential shopping and, curbside or for your eating out, no more gatherings at home, and just to overall reduce activity. Again, not mandatory, but that was what our governor wanted us to be doing all this week with the numbers surging. So with that, I think it's important to ask, what is it like to be a teenager during the pandemic? And what do you all want adults, your teachers, your parents, to know about what you're feeling?
to know that it's been it's been tough, like really just like trying to get through this throughout this year, and gonna try the best we can to like fight through it, like the best way we can. So yeah.
So, Tyrone, when you say you want them to know it's been tough, what specifically are you finding for you to be the hardest part?
um can you explain it? Wait.
What do you say it's tough? What is the toughest part about it? Is it not going to school? Is it not getting to be out with your friends? Is it what are you finding the hardest part of all this?
I think not getting to like really socialize with people in person. So you basically had to do everything online now this year. So and not having to go to school like inside, like kind of makes it even harder because you want to just actually just know, like it'd be much easier in like class, inside of class, instead of like virtual in way. But pretty much like everything been hard doing stuff like without socializing, mostly on the virtual.
Yeah, the socialization element. And I think that what this has done is it's kind of interesting. So when you all have grown up with technology, right? So you've got it's funny because when y'all are in school, everyone's always on their phones, like doing, digital communication. I've been out at restaurants and I see a table full of people, and adults do it too, all on their phones. And I'm thinking, you're out to dinner. Why aren't you talking to each other? But I think what's been interesting is now that you're forced to just be like digital communication, I think, and I hope this is the silver lining, that when we come out of this, that there'll be more of an appreciation for just how much that good old fashioned human interaction and socialization is. Anyone else feeling like Tyrone is on missing the socialization aspect?
Absolutely, because I am definitely a social butterfly, so this is hard for me. I love being around people and talking to people, and I'm quite frankly tired of looking at a screen. I never thought I would say that, but I'm absolutely tired of being on my laptop. I'm tired of all of it, and I'm really struggling because for my whole life, all I've known is school. Like adults, they've had school and they have work and have different jobs. I've only known school. So now my house has become school. It's become my resting place. It's become my social life. I just need to break free. I can't. I'm losing my mind. I'm losing all motivation in school, clearly, and I'm struggling. I'm falling into a hole of assignments and struggle.
I'm going to sound cliche, but the struggle is real. But it really is. I think I didn't think of it this way, Amaya, but what you just said, our homes are supposed to be our retreat, right? Our homes are supposed to be where we go to escape and relax. But you just hit the nail on the head. Our homes have become our place of work, our place of school, our place of socialization digitally, and our place to relax, sleep, unwind. It's all rolled into one now. And so there's no escape. And just like I've always said that when students come into my classroom, I always say, this class is your escape from the world. Come in here, let's have fun, let's be creative. But now we've had to roll all of our things into one location, and I think that does add a stress. Anyone else? What are you feeling? What do you want adults to know?
I feel so bad because for me, I hate staying in the house for that long.
Yep.
I like traveling, go to the restaurant, go to visit my friend, to see some of my family member. But because of coronavirus, I don't do that no more. So it was last week ago. I asked my mom, "Can I go see one of these my friends who moved here to Lexington?" Then she was like, "No," and I was like, "Why?" Because I don't want you to get the virus. I was like, "Okay, okay." I won't say anything again. But when it comes to ask my dad, he probably he probably won't say anything. Instead of telling me no because of this, because of that, we start judging.
Hmm. Yeah.
And don't you know the condition? Don't you know the coronavirus in Lexington it's going up, and you still want to go meet your friend? What is wrong with you, Susie? Why you don't listen? Something like that.
So you have probably just echoed the panic and fear of any parent out there. Um,
Yeah.
you know, and they do, even though they say, you know, that you young people are more resilient, you'll survive. First of all, who wants to be sick? No one wants to be sick.
Nobody.
Nobody. I mean, even with the allergies, I don't like getting allergies, but no one wants to be sick. And then two, I think your parents worry, you know, this is something we've never had. We don't know what the long-term effects are. And, you know, I think that the fear among parents is real. They want to protect you all because they love you. But, you know, there's a saying, Susie, with that's called cabin fever. When we get cabin fever, that means you've been cooped up in the house too long and you're itching to get out. So I think we're all suffering from that. Ethan, what about you? What do you want adults to know about how this is impacting you?
Honestly, I don't really know. I mean, the main thing I want to get across is because, especially in like a lot of like rural areas, they're kind of just throwing it off like it's no big deal. So, like, take it seriously because this is something that, like, is out there and it's real and it's sometimes dangerous depending on, like, what strain of the virus you actually get. That's the other thing is people need to remember that there's different strands of it because I know during the summer I had one of the me and my family had one of the weaker strands, and so
Oh,
they're kind of just like, oh, oh, it's okay, we had it, and we lived, and it's like, yeah, but we also had the weaker strand of it. We didn't have the main one that the media is talking about that's killing everyone. That's kind of the main thing that I want to get across about that is it's not just one giant thing. There's smaller strands of it within the one big virus.
so Ethan, and thank you for sharing that. You bring a unique perspective. You had it. So have you run into teenagers who think they're immune? Oh, I'm a teenager. I can still go out and see friends. And are you finding a lot of that?
No, actually, most of the teenagers that I've experienced are actually taking it mostly seriously.
Good.
Like, and I know over fall break, me and my friends, we hung out, but like before that, we have only been with our family. We've been restricted to only our family, so we felt safe to actually be able to hang out together without wearing a mask or anything because we've only been in our house with our family. That's kind of what I've been doing. If like people have been careless, then I haven't really hung out with them that much. But if people have actually been restricting themselves from the exposure to it, I've been more willing to actually hang out with those people because I know my family, they're they've been throwing off the virus like, oh, it's nothing, and I'm like, but it isn't. So it's interesting the different perspectives of the people that can be in one place but and yet have so different views.
I agree. That's been really interesting to me that we have, because I mean, to me, this is science. It's there's no, like some issues, they're gray areas, but this is science. And I don't really, I don't know how, um, how, I don't know. It just leaves me at a loss when people say it's not a big deal. I'm like, well, tell that to the, what was it, 11,000 people in Kentucky, and then, 250,000, and then globally, tens of millions. I mean, tell that to those people. It's not a big deal. It's just been interesting to see. And I think you bring up an interesting thing, and I'm glad you said this, that you don't distinguish it between teenagers are any less concerned than adults. It just depends upon the people, that there are some teenagers who are taking it super seriously, just as there's some adults that aren't taking it seriously. And, I've seen people who are my friends who I think are smart people on Facebook. They're like, I'm not wearing a mask. I'm a never masker. And I just, I don't even get into the conversation with them, but it's just interesting to me, the different perspectives. What else, you all? What, as teenagers, let's turn our attention to school. Maya hit on it a little bit. What is your biggest challenge from your perspective, not from your teacher's perspective? Because it's easy for us to sit in our little corner and be like, oh, well, these assignments aren't getting done, and but I'm just looking at my class. Okay, I don't know what else is on your load. What do you want your parents, because your parents are keeping up with your grades a lot, and then teachers, what do you want all of us to know about what you are dealing with trying to do school virtually versus if you were in the classroom?
If we were in school, it's much easier because we have a bell. And so usually if we're not done with something by the time the bell rings, it's like, oh, it's okay, we'll do it tomorrow, class. Or if you didn't finish, you go home and do it for homework. Here, you don't have a bell, so each assignment, I'm taking forever on each assignment because I don't have a bell to stop me, and I can't just say, oh, I'll just do it tomorrow because I have a due date, and they act like we didn't go from bell to no bell, schedule to no schedule. And then having the load of having 6 teachers and then wanting to add more classes at my homeschool. They want to add on feelings classes is what I call them, because it just doesn't even make sense. They just want me to go and talk about my feelings sometimes, which is what we have guidance counselors for. If I had feelings, I would just ask them about it instead of having to take away from time I could be doing my work. I have to go to my homeroom and then this extra hearing class. It's just more assignments on top of the assignments of the other 6 classes that I have.
So that's interesting. It sounds like this was something that they probably added thinking it's going to help, but for you, it's just one more thing.
Yes. And they have us doing our homeroom every week, when if we were in regular school, we don't ever go to homeroom. We usually only go if there's testing or on the first week of school. Now we need to do it every week. I don't understand why we need to add more classes, but that's what they wanted to do.
So how do you feel then as a teenager? Do you feel helpless?
Absolutely. I'm like, do you people not understand this? Why are you adding more classes on top of other classes? And then our teachers are confused because they're trying to navigate the virtual learning. So then they're giving us confused lessons and then work on top of those confused lessons. And I feel like I don't even need the Zoom half the time because the work has nothing to do with what we talked about in the Zoom.
Interesting. So you're finding a disconnect. I think that is part of what you also just mentioned, that teachers are trying to figure this out too. So I think that's why this discussion's great. I think it's important that we as adults are honest with you all. I've been honest when I've said, my bad, forgot to publish something the other day. And that's why no one did that, because I forgot to I put it in there, but I didn't hit publish. I was honest. I'm behind on getting your grades in. I think that transparency of being, I'm not just the teacher, I'm a human being too, just like you all are. And we are all feeling things. And I feel like if we communicate more, and, someone might be like, oh, that's why Miss Roush is, behind on, getting her grades in, or, oh, that's why, Amaya was late getting that in. That we're going to, if we communicate, that's why I always say communicate, let me know, that if we better understand each other, I think we can get through it a little bit better. Anyone else, any thoughts on that before we wrap up? Yeah.
I agree with Maya, because so basically, like, in school it's pretty much easier because you get after class, when class is done, with the bell rings and stuff, you can just ask the teacher, can I see you, like, during, like, out, like, during, like, after school or something like that, or like you can do it tomorrow, the assignment.
Yeah.
Oh, you have much more time to work on the assignment than you can. And with Reggie, it took me like a little while to like get used to it at first.
Yep.
Because it'd be times where I didn't know what time on a specific day I was supposed to go in that class. Yeah, I think I did it other day too. I was supposed to be in this class at this time of the hour, and I forgot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, because I was supposed to be there at 10:50, and I was like, oh, so I had to ask one of my friends what was what's the period block for this day, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think the whole accountability, I think when we're in person and we see each other every day, we have structure and we have accountability. And even though, sure, we have a schedule here, there's a lot of self-regulation that we as adults and you all as teenagers, we have to do, right? Especially, again, getting back to working at home. It's harder, you're not, I get more done when I'm in the classroom because it's more structured. I don't have dogs barking at me. I don't have this going on. I don't have the temptation of going and grabbing a snack. So I think that, I think ultimately what I hope is that this will make us all appreciate our socialization face to face, and B, that, because we hear a lot of times teenagers, oh, I hate school. I'm hearing teenagers now, I want to go to school. I miss school. So I hope that it's just at the end of all this, that we're all going to have a better appreciation for what we have. What do you all think?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, go ahead, Tyrone. Yes.
I think with this, like, stuff going on, we should just try the best we can on it, and yeah.
And you know what? That's a great note to end on, Tyrone. Just do the best you can. I love that. That was great, Tyrone. That's all you can do sometimes, is your very best. And sometimes we might not feel like our best is good enough, but you know what? If you're doing your best under the circumstances, it is good enough. The thing is to just not get caught in slacking off. You got to keep pushing through and doing your best. With that, I want to leave on a happy note. I want each of you to tell me what makes you happy right now. What brings you joy? Ethan, what makes you happy? What brings you joy?
One thing that's kind of been making me happy recently is I've been able to actually start making some of my own music in my free time. Yeah, recently I've been working on, I just released 2 songs on my YouTube channel for the first time.
Wow.
So it's interesting because all technology, like with everything, is weird right now. But yeah, definitely that's been one of the things that I've been having fun with. And
That
just-
is exciting. Oh, I love that. Amaya, what makes you happy? What's bringing you joy?
Honestly, given the circumstances, ironically, it's this class because it's like a break from my other work. Because I've always said, ever since I was a little girl, I want to be on the TV. I want to do the news. I want to be in journalism. And now I'm finally being able to practice that and put my journalism dreams to the test. And it's really a break. It's great. I love it.
Wonderful. Of course, that makes me extra happy, but good. I'm glad that you're finding joy in a class, even though we're doing it virtually. That is outstanding. Susie, what makes you happy? What brings you joy?
When I'm able to finish all my classwork, even if
Nice.
sometimes a little tough, but I still
Nice.
finish it.
Very good. I love that. So that's a great example of sometimes it's just the little things. So that feeling of accomplishment that, hey, I've got this. I'm navigating this. That's great, Susie. I love that. Tyrone, what brings you joy? What makes you happy?
Well, doing all my classwork, like not having to worry about what next work I had to do and just finishing it up kind of early or just finishing up now and achieving the goals I had to do and stuff. Like recently, I just been driving, getting better at it, and I'm looking forward to do my like permit test. So yeah.
Great. So a goal to have. And I'll tell you something, Tyrone, and those of you, once you get your driver's license, if you don't already, sometimes it's just nice to go for a drive. That brings
Yeah.
happiness. I'll share the other day, I got a little off track when I was making home treat deliveries when I went to Ethan's, but I ended up having a beautiful out of the way hour drive. But you know what? I actually enjoyed it. I'm like, it was a beautiful day. I had the windows down. The breeze was great. I had some good music on. The fall colors were around me and I loved it. It made me so happy just going on a drive by myself. I was like, you know what? I don't mind that I got lost, that I got lost because I enjoyed it. So it was simple. So Tyrone, you keep working on getting that permit and you enjoy the efforts of that. This has been a great discussion and I appreciate everyone's input and insight. And I think the bottom line is that we find that we have a lot in common, both adults and teenagers, and bottom line, we're all in this together. You've been listening to the Phoenix Power Podcast.